Alright guys, you know the drill, another week, another patch for Crimson Desert, and this time around it's version 1.04. This one is actually massive. It adds all of the cool stuff that Perlibis talked about, difficulty settings, changes to the Payloon camp, new pets, and a lot of other stuff as well. So we're gonna check out everything in just a little bit, and of course keep in mind that the update is still rolling out on all platforms. If you're not seeing it, it should roll out in a few more hours for your version. But let's get started with the patch notes, which we have right here, starting of course with the fact that we have 3 new difficulty settings: easy, normal, and hard difficulty for experienced gray mains looking for more intense and thrilling combat. Hard difficulty offers a more challenging journey. It seems that it's going to be more challenging than whatever version we currently have in the game. And of course they also mentioned that in the near future they will allow for boss rematches, but that's not going to be part of this new update. But here are the changes for each difficulty. So easy will have reduced damage taken by the player, reduced maximum HP, aggressiveness, and overall speed of opponents, extended timing window for parry and dodges, and reduce the frequency of bosses attempting to counter-attack or escape when hit. Normal, this is pretty much the difficulty we have been playing so far, which is pretty crazy because it means we're gonna get a harder difficulty than the one we have right now. So let's check this out. Food item effects won't be applied immediately and will only take effect after the consumption animation is complete, which kind of reminds me a bit of Monster Hunter Wilds actually, so that was also the case over there. Increased damage taken by the player, increased maximum HP, aggressiveness, and overall speed of opponents, reduced timing window for parry and dodges, reduced invincibility duration of the roll, increased frequency of boss attempting to counterattack or escape when hit, and added additional combat patterns for certain bosses. Which is exactly what we wanted, because, you know, remember how in the previous video I mentioned how I don't just want to see like HP increases and decreases, I want to see like new attack patterns or more boss aggressivity or less boss aggressiveness basically. Well, that is exactly in tune with what Perlibis also thought would make for a good difficulty setting, and that's what they went with, which also now raises the question, how crazy are the bosses on the hard difficulty going to get, given that they were already pretty, strong on the counterattacks and escape mechanics. Luckily, Perlibis already thought of that, and in the combat action section, we're gonna see in just a little bit, they did adjust the overall boss balance. So for example, they changed the boss so that they are no longer immune to player attacks while performing powerful attacks, which is already absolutely massive. They adjusted the frequency at which they counterattack or escape anyway by default, especially when being hit consecutively, and they adjusted the attack pattern of certain bosses. So overall, this is going to balance out really well now that we can interrupt and hit them during their previously immune phases. We also have some other changes to our camp and the Payloon camp. So they added the Sturdy Gatherables chest, which can be set up with the housing system. So the Sturdy Gatherables chest has 1,000 slots that can be purchased from the furniture shop, and materials stored in this type of chest can be used for crafting or refinement, even if they are not carried in your inventory, meaning that we no longer have to occupy our regular backpack slots with useless stuff. We can just throw everything over here, and whenever we want to craft, we can just have them automatically be drawn from the Gatherables chest, which is actually really nice. I always wanted a quality of life change like this. Besides this, they added a cuckoo cooler and enhanced cuckoo cooler items which can be placed with the housing system. This is basically going to now be obtained via a quest, and while the enhanced version can be crafted, both can be used to store food items and ingredients. So we can see here that the regular version has 40 slots, meanwhile that enhanced version has 330. So we're gonna have to visit the Kilden shop once again to complete this. Ingredients stored in either coolers can be used for cooking even when they are not carried in your inventory, so that's basically the benefit of having this installed. They've also added, like they said before, a collectibles chest, which can be placed through the housing system as well. So the collectibles chest can be used to store various quest items and crafting recipes. It has a 1,000 slot limit and can be obtained through a new quest as well, which is pretty nice. They further added another version of that, but for outfits. So an outfit storage feature to the wardrobe, which can be placed through the housing mode as well. The wardrobe can be purchased from the furniture shop, so you're going to find one in Hernand as well. I'm pretty sure you can find one in Hernand for every single one of these. Each wardrobe provides 100 storage slots, and the total storage capacity increases based on the number of wardrobes placed, so we can purchase additional ones and get 100 more slots on top, but the maximum is going to be 1,000, meaning 10 wardrobes or well, storages like these that we can place throughout our housing system. They also added select house options where you can change the layout of your house. So there are, well, 4 of them in total right here that we can choose between. These are the selectable ones based on the Gaming Camp expansion level. So we have compact house, standard, it goes then to spacious, and finally spacious Pelunese house, meaning, yeah, it's going to become very interesting with the lot of land that we have available at the start. It was kind of looking kind of empty, so, you know, liking these changes already. But let's keep on going. They improved the housing mode related UI and controls. They added a function that allows all furniture's items placed through the housing mode to be retrieved all at once. They've improved the Gaming Camp, so there's a spoiler over here, by the way. After moving the camp to Peilun, they made further changes. You will now receive the private storage item, which can be placed through the housing mode. And they also added a well to the Howling Hill. We talked about, you know, infinite water farm. This is likely going to let us do that. Let's see if they actually have done so with a cauldron. I don't think they did. But improve the observation feature so that Abyss artifacts can be earned when observing a skill that has already been acquired by Abyss artifacts, so I guess not. Improve the following items which were previously unstackable to now stack in the inventory. So this includes regular Abyss gears, insects, fish, and animals. So this is going to already clear so much inventory space. It never made sense why they are all separate, but I'm liking this change right here. It definitely looks really nice, especially the insects part. Having them on individual slots was really nasty, dude. But they also added birds as pets, so you can now encounter these new companions through Pywell. And yeah, this pretty much implies that the legendary bird will also be part of this. So they added the So Day of Bond item, which allows you to gain trust with birds. They've also placed various types of food that birds might like on the So Day of Bond, feed them and gain trust. And the So Day of Bond can be obtained through a quest as well. So pretty much a lot of new quests will be added with this patch, it seems, that we're going to want to complete. Speaking of pets, they've added 5 new types of cat pets, and I really hope that the Abyss cat is part of them. We're going to have to also check that one in game because it looks really interesting. But besides this, they've also improved the Abyss Heilong. It can now become a pet. So yeah, there you have it. This is pretty much the one I was looking for. We covered this in a mod, by the way. So the Heilong, which is also a mount in BDO, can now become a pet, which is really interesting. They've added a function to change the name of horses and pets. So there you have it. This was another requested feature. Fixed an issue where cats would remain on the player's shoulder indefinitely, contrary to the intended design. However, considering that many Greymanes actually like these cats' behavior, we have added an item that allows cats to stay on the shoulder for a longer period of time, which is actually really nice. Added an accessory slot for pets, which will allow pets to now take on a wider variety of roles. That is actually really cool. One item here that will change some of that is the Sigil of Bonding. Equipping this item on a pet cat ensures that it's going to stay longer on our shoulders, which is really cool. For Damien, we have a new change here. They added a new exclusive one-handed weapon, the Sword of Starlight, which can be obtained through another quest. And for Cliff and Unka, they've added new one-handed weapons, Tree Branch, and Sturdy Tree Branch. So what do these do? Well, these items can be obtained by cutting down trees and bamboo trees, but it doesn't go into much detail. We're gonna have to check that out. Maybe, you know, a different functionality like the Bee Club. I don't know. We're gonna have to see it in game. Besides this, they added a new tool, which is the Sturdy Broom. For Cliff, they added a new Baltheon armor outfit, which is wow, okay, so Baltheon, if I'm not mistaken, this was an unobtainable armor before. They did mention they would add more of these in the future. Also changed the name of the Rekia plate armor to Baltheon plate helm and, well, improved it so that it can be equipped by Cliff. In any case, they've also added a secret shop in Pororin where pets equipment can be purchased, though didn't we already have one of those in Pororin? I'm pretty sure we did, but maybe it's going to be a different vendor. They've also added additional outfits to certain shops like the back alley shop, so now we're gonna have to visit them again. Improved Cuckoo flame resistant armor and the Cuckoo ice resistant armor so they can be dyed. Finally, we can change the colors on them. Hopefully they will do the same with the Marnie helmet and all the other Cuckoo related items as well. Added various ores and wells across Spy Well. It seems that one of these was removed actually, no point reading it. Reduce the amount of attacks and defenses gained from equipment reinforcement with grindstones and anvils, which is actually a nerf. Fixed an issue where the cloud cart could not be called, so they improved the cloud cart so that it can be used as a permanent mount finally, and changed the cloud cart crafting mission so that it can only be completed once. If you already played with it, you know that every time you used it, you basically consumed it, so you had to send your gray mains to craft another one. So I'm glad that they actually changed this. Improved the prices of goods sold by gray main NPC so that they can be bought at a 10% discounted price. That is also a good change. They've added livestock vendors across Spy Well, so this includes cows, pigs, goats, sheep, ducks, and chicken can be purchased from these NPCs. If you already talked to various NPCs and befriended them around, well, Hernand, basically, you probably already unlocked these at the main vendor back at the camp, but I'm glad that they added more of them. In addition to this, there are some new customization changes for our characters. So added 13 new tattoos to characters. They've also added a lock function to prevent selling or discarding of the selected items. They've also improved gathering and mining so that the quantity of items obtained is applied consistently. They've also improved resting in bed so that the player character gets up immediately afterwards, improved NPCs to show a wider variety of reactions to their surroundings, and as part of an ongoing visual improvement, replaced select 2D visuals assets to better align with the game's art direction. They did mention that distant details, so this is going to likely be part of the update. But now let's go over controls, and then we also have combat and action. For controls, it looks like we're getting something big over here. They added a preset feature for both keyboard and mouse and the controller. So they talked about adding presets for all of these options in the past. So original controls are available via the classic preset. More detailed controls customization will be added soon. In the meantime, they also added a feature when an interaction key is pressed, the corresponding action is performed immediately. So for keyboard and mouse, this feature is located into settings, input, keyboard and mouse customization. It can be used when the UI interaction section does not overlap with the keys in the default input group. If the keys overlap, the section will be highlighted in yellow. So here is an explanation of that. If the keys do not overlap, it's pretty much going to be like this. Like, for example, you can see here, normally we use E to take items. Well, you can change it to R, for example, to take items. I'm still going to keep it on E, by the way. So, yeah, if the keys overlap, this is how they basically look. In terms of the controller, this feature can be used through the default settings, input, controller customization in the game settings menu. They've also added the evasion control and switch roll and evasion input options. So this feature allows you to choose between either the original double click / press option or the hold option. So enabling the switch roll and evasion input option switches the controls for roll and evasion. So I don't think I'm going to change these, but you're free to do it if you want to. They've also improved the controls for aiming, so they added a function that allows you to turn your lantern on and off while aiming, which is good, and improve the control so that even when a weapon is drawn, pressing aim while there is an interactable target nearby will immediately switch to aim instead of guard. Furthermore, they added using skill element option, so selecting quick slot option allows you to use the selected elements assigned for each individual input. Though I'm not sure exactly what this means, so added using skill element option. We're gonna have to see how this looks like in game because it sounds like it's going to more easily let us trigger some of the elemental attacks. Maybe I'm wrong on this one, but it's early in the morning for me, so yeah, bear with me. Change the controls for Vault. Vault can now only be used by pressing jump while performing a different attack, which is interesting. Changed all interactions so that they are executed continuously while the button is held down. Keyboard and mouse and controller dismount, drop, and cancel keys buttons have been combined. For keyboard and mouse only, expanded the range of customizable key bindings. Also for keyboard and mouse, changed escape key used while under status effects to match the evade key. And for the controller, improved the map so that it can be opened by holding the DualSense touchpad or the Xbox controller's view button. But yeah, let's keep on going, and next we're gonna have combats and actions. So let's go with the adjustment for overall boss balance, because obviously with the new difficulty settings, they wanted to include some boss balances as well. So bosses, yeah, they are no longer immune to player attacks while performing powerful attacks. Thank God, because that was annoying. Now we can deal damage pretty much every day of the week. Also adjusted the frequency at which bosses counterattack or escape while being hit consecutively, and adjusted the attack pattern of certain bosses. This is especially important right here. When getting attacked, bosses were still spamming, so now we may be able to interrupt them. That's how I'm reading in between the lines, by the way. It's from the looks of it, it may be possible for us to more easily, make bosses flinch, you know, because that was really not a thing in the game. They've also increased damage taken from elemental status ailments, slightly reduced the damage dealt when hitting enemies with pillars or trees. That was indeed overpowered. You could literally one or two shot enemies that way. So yeah, that was a fix. Added new charging stages for Force Palm Pulse. So the skill can now be charged up to 3 stages with damage increasing progressively. I hope that doesn't mean that by default it got nerfed and we have to now charge it to deal the same amount of damage. But you know, it seems that it can actually go higher in damage. Improve the overall speed of examine when examining items, which is always nice. Improve the speed of pushing or rotating objects during puzzles. Improved follow-up attack so that they connect more quickly even when the initial attack is blocked. Very interesting. Changed blinding flash so that it can also be used in areas where weapons cannot be drawn. So like for example in the Grey Main camp, for some reason, if you want to do that. Changed blinding flash so that it is used towards the target currently being faced during combat. Okay. And improved attack chaining after using dodge during unarmed combat. A lot of stuff that we actually have to test in game, because it sounds like even combat changes quite a bit. For Cliff, added the skill weapon throw, usable while dual wielding. Holy smokes, this is huge. This ability can be used with the same controls as shield bash. Weapons can be retrieved by pressing the same control or by approaching it. Dude, throwing build? Am I reading this right? Are we getting a throwing build? Because I think I want to go with that. I would love to go with a build like that. Also improved attack speed of Force Palm, fixed an issue where the parry action after guarding would not trigger when a non-sword weapon was equipped as the primary weapon. Also fixed issues with the charge not being used with certain weapons. Improved force current so that Cliff no longer falls from ledges when using it. Thank God, because this was also annoying as heck. Probably he's not going to do a step forward any longer, or maybe he's going to be careful, I don't know. For Damien and Unka, added the skill called Ambush, so we can now finally use them in stealth, I guess. Both for them as well, added a skill that has the effect, the same effect as Cliff's focused Force Palm. So now it means we can go through different puzzles with them, especially the ones that were blocked by, you know, the abyss cells, basically. That is cool, dude. That is so cool. Fixed an issue where Unka could not move horizontally during vertical flights. Improved Unka blaster so that it can be fired during flight. Fixed issues where scatter shot could be used even without bullets during backhang. Improved examine so that it can be used in your inventory while mounted on a horse. Improved brightness and detection range of the miner's lantern hat so that it can more easily identify gatherable ores. This is such a good change, dude, to the mining hat, because this was literally not, at least not noticeable to me. I barely even noticed it highlighting any of the ores, but I'm glad that they finally changed it. It can now identify stone as well, which is really good. So good buffs overall. Changed the healing effect displayed on target affected by healing Force Palm. Fixed an issue where the lift interaction became unavailable when a restrained target fell into water. Fixed an issue where stamina would recover when repeatedly drawing and stowing weapons while moving. Fixed an issue where sprinting, swimming, and other actions could not be performed while riding the Marnie's mecha horse. This also begs the question, are we getting that as a horse, as a tameable one? Because I would love it. Fixed an issue where the character would get stuck in certain situations while operating mechanical devices. Improved spears and long swords so that their attacks flow more naturally during combat. Interesting. This may imply new animations. And for Damien, improved quick reload so that in addition to being acquirable by skill observation, the skill can also be acquired with Abyss artifact. Thank God, dude. This is something that you completely lost access after chapter 11, so they did listen and finally made it possible for us to just get it outright. Really, really good change. Now we also have some UI fixes and improvements. Improved inventory so that items can be viewed through category tabs. There are 5 categories, including all, documents, equipment, food, materials, and others, like they said before. Also, the sort settings for each inventory category are saved and will remain in effect even after restarting the game. Good change all in all. The same category tabs will also be added to the private storage in the near future. They've also improved the inventory UI so that grouped icons will show an icon with a representative image of the group so that you have an idea of what the hell you're looking at. This feature may be turned on or off in the settings, play, show group icons in the inventory. Separated the input options for ungroup and ungroup all items. Added filters / search function to the map. So this is going to mean we're going to have an easier time searching for things if we can now filter and search on the map. That should make things a lot easier when, well, at least on new playthroughs, because on old ones we pretty much discovered everything. But improved the map and minimap so that icons are displayed for obtaining memory fragments. After memory fragments are obtained, lanterns will no longer display a detection signal. Added a feature that allows players to choose the shape and color of map markers. Finally, we can distinguish between them. Improve the map to display the stock status of shop items for shops with whom maximum trust has been reached. That is a good change as well. Maybe an extra incentive to actually befriend a lot more vendor NPCs. Improve the map and minimap to display well icons. Improve the minimap to display north, south, east, and west. Cliff, well, pretty much all playable characters adjusted the layout of the skill menu. And of course, improve the faction quest and challenges UI to show the number of quests and challenges available. Improve the journal so that reward item information can be viewed. So now I think we can finally hover over the items and see what the hell they are. Previously, we would only see the icon and that was it. Also added UI display to shops to show how many of an item the player owns, and improved shops buy menu to display the condition required for purchasing the activated items. So you know, like how a lot of the shopkeepers that sell horse items, yeah, those have a lot of hidden loot as well, unless you buy, for example, the contribution crowns. So I'm guessing that that's going to be one of the ways we're going to see it, but maybe this way we can find other cool stuff, you know, other hidden items that we didn't even know about before. So all in all, really great changes all around, like really big changes over here. We do have some for graphics and settings, like you already know about the improved rendering quality of distant objects and textures. This is like one of the main reasons why the patch is going to be as large as it is, but improved pretty much a lot of the long distance detail, visual quality, hair lightening in shaded areas, added a max size for the subtitles and whatnot over there. And a lot of improvements to the errors and flickering related to displacement mapping. And hopefully they will do the same to lighting interiors, although I'm not seeing over here much in that. But overall, looks like we have a lot of graphical settings over here to improve the quality, the HDR, and all of the other cool tech that AMD and Intel also have available. For stability and gameplay, you already know that change the load menu to display a notice in a slot if the save data is corrupted or invalid. And they even went as far as adding tumbleweeds to the desert region. Okay, now that I think about it, I think that was indeed missing. So yeah, having tumbleweeds now rolling about in the desert region sounds really cool. Fixed an issue where the display weapon setting was not applied properly. And basically lots of other changes here to even improve the comrade behavior so that they do not attack bounty targets. Also journal to indicate whether a quest target has been dispatched on a mission. Fix an issue where the game would occasionally close when retrying bosses as Damien or Unka. And basically a lot of other cool fixes and changes over here that are on a smaller scale but still quite important. But yeah, the meat of the update was basically in the controls, the new animations, the new content, the new difficulty. So lots of cool stuff here, guys. Big patch overall. So let me know in the comments, has this fixed many of the issues that you were having with the game? And of course, be prepared for some of the other stuff that will be following up in the next, well, months or maybe weeks, because we still have the reblockading and the boss re-encounters, which I cannot wait for. But that pretty much concludes today's video. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.